every year you wake up and you say, I'm going to go for that this year. Just recognize what it is. This is not a time to be judging yourself, but it's a time to be conscious of who you really are and who you need to be in order to accomplish those goals.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome. It's The Closing Table. My name is Kevin McIntosh, your host, and joining us today on this special episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Kevin Yoder. How you doing, Kevin?
Kevin, great name. I'm doing great.
I know, right?
Absolutely.
We already off to a good start, man.
Absolutely,
Appreciate you for joining us. Want to talk a little bit about your experience, your background, and your insights when it comes to real estate. So let's start off talking about your beginnings. You started in 2002 is when you started. Now, we've seen a lot of different changes, more specifically the 2008 housing crash and things of that nature. Why don't you talk about how the change in different real estate laws have impacted your life as a real estate agent?
Well, I'm okay. So you want to go to the law side, or
let's talk about it all, including the law. Yeah.
Well, that's an easy one for me because I have a slightly different philosophy, Kevin, on that one. And I share it with agents that I coach with all over the world is when you can create your own economy, you got to go back to 2008 for a minute. We had a couple choices. One was get out of the business. Two was shift wholeheartedly and headlong right into the foreclosure market and working with banks. So the third one is to stay true with traditional real estate sales and working with buyers and sellers. And I chose the third option, the latter. Because I had a sense that when this thing is done, I don't want to have to pivot again out of the bank and foreclosure market. If it happens again, I will have to make that consideration again. But my point with that is when you can create a systematic, duplicatable, repeatable business model, the laws are not so much a factor because we can pivot, and I've stayed true to the fundamentals of the business through the biggest buyer's market we've seen, right, in the history of real estate, at least in the last 30, 40 years. So that's how it's impacted. So this time around, we're looking at a market shift, and I encourage agents that I'm coaching with to look at it the same way as when you can adopt these foundational ways. When people are saying get back to the basics, I'm like, look, I never left the basics. Correct. It's good for me and those that are in those situations, which means that our ability to succeed in real estate, regardless of market conditions, regardless of seller's market, buyer's market, or middle market, is hinged on our capacity to influence a complete stranger to take action in their best interest with me. And so that's my philosophy on that. It's not like it's easy. We got to work. I was on the phone for 4 hours today, Kev, and you make it happen, right?
Yeah, understanding. Yeah, and I like the way you presented that, man. Just keeping it at the foundation, at the basics. You can't go wrong no matter what the market conditions are ultimately. So well said, well put. I see that you actually have a lot of content on social media, more specifically on YouTube. You've been consistent on YouTube in the last couple of years. I actually enjoy some of your content. Why don't you talk about what motivates you to even put content on YouTube?
That's a great question, and I appreciate the compliment. I would say that when we look at the real estate business, if we're talking about these foundational things, and for me, expireds is where I cut my teeth in 2011, in the middle of the decline. And up until then, I was doing okay. I made it through the 2007, 8, 9, 10. And I said, okay, well, what can I do that can go deeper in real estate and actually impact more people, sell more houses, and help more people? And that was through expired listings. And I did that. And I went deep into it. And I was listing, 20 plus homes a month with just expireds, a few FSBOs in there. And when you do that, then you have a few options. You have a few choices that you're not going to have if you're not producing the revenue that an agent that's doing that is. And one of those things I got into was radio back in 2010, 2011. Okay. So I started to run radio ads, and we've been doing that for about 11 or 12 years now. This is not an attempt to influence people to do the same, because if you want to call me after this and ask me how that went, I'll be happy to tell you that. If you want to talk to a guy who spent millions of dollars in radio, you're looking at him right here.
Mm.
So it took a lot of
Mm.
sifting and sorting and testing, and 9 out of 10 did not work. Right. So it
Right,
took a
right,
lot of money
right.
to figure that out, but one did. But then when it comes to this other piece, which is YouTube, if you think about what's different about this market than it was 11 years ago, 12 years ago, is the consumer is doing their research. Their
Mhm.
consumer wants to know who they're getting ready to work with. And what ways do they have to do that? Well, YouTube is tied to Google, and they search YouTube like they do anything else. So
Correct.
uh, we have to, if we're really wanting to thrive and not just survive, Kev, over the next 10 years and beyond in real estate, we have to ask ourselves, what is it that's going to create a distinct difference between us and our competition?
Correct.
And this is one of those things. So if we have value that we're bringing to the marketplace, and we have expertise and knowledge and experience, and we've done the thing, well, then I think it becomes a duty, responsibility, and obligation to share it with as many people as possible so that they can navigate through the waters of real estate without getting bitten by a shark. And by a shark, I mean someone who doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and they end up
Mm.
having it, and that's not good for anybody, man. I
I
hate to
feel it.
see that someone had a bad experience and they ended up selling for less money or getting into a home they didn't want. And so that's one of the reasons why I do it,
There it
and I
is.
enjoy it too, by the way. I really enjoy doing that, so there's that.
I feel like the YouTube wave, man. Like once you really get in and you get a good groove and momentum,
Mm,
it is addictive. Like you're like, man, I want to put more content
mhm.
out there. And to
Yeah,
your point, I like ultimately what you said is basically teach what was taught. The things that you
there it
learned,
is.
you're passing
Yeah,
that knowledge on to
right.
to clients and the people that will ultimately benefit from that knowledge. So,
You got it. Right, right. That's perfect. I love what you said. And then people say, well, how do you get your content? And I
mm,
say, you know what? Working in real estate every day, you start to become aware, and then you're like, wait a minute, that's going to be a great video next week. What just
correct,
happened
correct.
there? So that's how I get my content, is being in the game, on the court, not on the sidelines. The more transactions we do, you do this 100 times, or so a year. You have a lot of stories and a lot of experiences that you get to share with the public. If you're doing this on a half-time,
Mm-hmm.
part-time basis and you're just dabbling in it, you don't have so much to share, and you don't have the
That's a
confidence
fact.
because you're not doing it. You know what I mean? So
That's a
there's a lot
fact.
there.
I learned a lot just from watching your videos. One thing that
Oh.
I've learned was real estate agents sell home warranties. I had
Mm.
no idea about this. I don't
Hmm.
know where the buyer would actually, the homeowner would get home warranties, but I guess I'm learning that it
Hmm.
actually can come from the agent. Can you talk about why a real
Yeah.
estate agent would even sell a
Yeah.
home warranty?
Yeah. That's good that you picked that up. Well, we're not really so much. I guess it's a sale, but not. I don't really look at it that way. It's an option. So when I'm talking
Correct.
about a
Okay.
seller, a listing, you think about the things that we can do, especially when the market shifts, Kev, where it's going from a extreme seller's market, the pendulum. I don't know if you can see my hand when I'm doing this.
I can see.
On my screen, it's off the screen. Okay, so it swung way over here. Now it's starting to come back a little bit. So the listings that would
Mm,
sell that were in disrepair, and they smelled funny, and they were overpriced, and the dogs were all over, and the cigarette smoke and all that, those days are gone, right? And
right.
now
Okay.
we have to make the product. Think about what we're doing here. We're marketing a product, right? And we get
True.
to decide. We get to help the seller have a better product than the competition. And so, what are our options? I mean, location, you can't change that. We
True.
can
Yeah.
we can have them make appropriate choices regarding pricing, nailing a pricing bracket. If you watch my videos, I talk about that a lot. Get the bracket right, and
Hmm.
get the home staged properly. Get it prepared for sale, clean, decluttered. Get all your stuff out that doesn't belong, and
Mm.
finally, what's left? Well, you can have a certified pre-owned product, which is like they do with vehicles, that people spend more money on a certified pre-owned. So home warranty, which means that the buyer gets to live in the home for a year with a warranty protection. Think about a blanket over the property that covers a lot of things. Like, it covers everything that you can think of that's a big ticket item: appliances, roof, furnace, water heater, electrical, plumbing, and everything in between. So that buyer that might be a
Okay.
little bit hesitant to buy a home with maybe the big ticket things like the furnace and the let's just say it's the furnace and the AC might be pushing 20 years. and the seller may not have the money to make those replacements. The buyer's a little bit worried. Well, there's a warranty in there. Should those things fail in that first year, the warranty kicks in and the buyer gets protected. And oftentimes it's a full replacement. Okay. So that's a benefit. Seller to the seller, they spend, it's, I don't know, $550, I think is what it is for a warranty. And that becomes a line item expense on their closing statement. So it's a win-win. I do encourage sellers to do that if they have, if the components, 2 of the 3 major components, and I can just talk about that real quick. What are the most expensive things in a home? Yeah. So think about it. Like got the roof, we've got the air conditioning, and we have the furnace. The 4th one would be, say, the foundation, but that's not something that we can address with a warranty, and that's probably going to be a deal breaker anyway, right? So of those 2 of those 3 major components are over, say, 15 to 17 years. I'm going to make a strong recommendation that they throw a warranty on there so that we can not have to worry about a buyer being freaked out, and it'll help sell the house for more money. It just does. So there's what I have for you.
So the seller pays for the warranty? Am I understanding that correct?
No, listen, it's market dependent. So if you go back to 2021 and we were in multiple offer situations and we had 10 to 15 offers, you realize that everything that you're pushing onto the seller as a line item expense comes off their net proceeds at the closing table. So if you have 5 offers and all things equal, and your offer has a warranty in there, and they're asking the seller to pay for it, it's no different than asking them to pay for your closing costs. It's $550. So guess what? I'm netting. Even if the offer, like, what if they like you more? It doesn't matter. Like, you've netted the seller $500 less. So in this market, it's becoming more appropriate to ask the seller to do that. But a lot of times, it's actually in the listing already. I encourage my seller to put it in there, and it says something like, blah, 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 this beautiful home, this 4-bedroom, 2-bath home in this neighborhood with these amenities, and seller has generously provided a 1-year home warranty for the buyer's peace of mind. That's how we do it.
Wow. Okay.
So that's
all right. So now I have like at least 2 more questions regarding that. So one, what would be the difference between people getting insurance on their home and that warranty, or how do they work together?
Yeah, that's great. That's a really great question. I don't think that anybody's ever asked me that before. So the insurance, if you think about what insurance covers, would be things like flooding, incidents, fire, theft. Flooding is like probably the biggest one. Like, there's a flood, the basement floods, or the refrigerator leaks and it just spills out onto the floor and ruins the hardwoods, that kind of thing. Right. Fire, theft. So the warranty is designed to pick up everything in between. So like, let's say a furnace goes out. Well, then the warranty company says, okay, what protection are we going to give here? What sort of reimbursement for that furnace? Is it a full replacement? Is it a partial replacement? But the insurance company is not going to say, if the furnace goes out, the insurance company doesn't pay for a furnace.
Right. Okay.
Right. So think of like flood. They're now, but not to be confused. There are certain insurances you can get for major components. And I've seen that before. Like they say, I have insurance on my furnace. And well, that's a whole different thing. And that's just a policy you get. That has nothing to do with a home warranty or traditional homeowners insurance. Homeowners insurance is there to protect the property, the asset, to make sure that in the event of a major catastrophe, that the lender gets their money, right? And the owner gets made right.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go.
Question.
Thank you for clarifying that for us. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So currently, your market that you're serving, can you tell the people where you're currently serving?
Absolutely. I do. I always do this the same way, Kev. So if you guys are not familiar with Michigan, I'm gonna do you a favor here. We go like this in Michigan. We raise our right hand, okay, and then we point to where we're located on the mitten, okay? Now, and by the way, if anybody's watching this and you don't know where Michigan is, it's not too hard. It's got the lakes all the way around it, and no, we're not the same as Minnesota. I've had people say, I'm like, I'm in Michigan. They're like, oh, you mean like up there by Minnesota? I'm like, no, I don't mean that. No, we're not. That's over there, and we're over here.
Over here.
And there's like a thing in between us. You know what that's called? That's called Wisconsin. So stop throwing us into one group. That'd be like you going, hey man, I'm in California. Oh yeah, like Nevada, right? I'm like, they're like, no, it's California. So
California.
All right, I get it. So Michigan is the Mitt. It's surrounded by states, which are by
Yeah.
lakes. It's the only state like that, right? These lakes are the Great Lakes. If you've never been to one, I could take you, Kev, right now. Where are you at? What city are you in?
We're in Eden Rapids, basically in Lansing, just south
Oh,
of Lansing.
well, well, that's hilarious. Okay, so
Right.
I don't need to explain to you, but for everybody else,
Of
you
course.
get the deal here, right? So these lakes are Great Lakes. They're like oceans. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm right here, and Kev, you're right here, right in the middle there, and Detroit's over here. Okay, and Chicago is somewhere down here. So that's how we do it here in Michigan, right? If you don't, you're not on the you missed the memo. You missed the memo. Yeah.
For the people that didn't see that, for the people listening, he raised his right hand. He pointed to the right-hand side of his right hand. That's where Grand Rapids is, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Michigan map. For anybody from Michigan, we raise our hand just to let you know.
We do. We raise our hand. We do, and so it's about 30 minutes from Lake Michigan. So it's great in that way. And Grand Rapids is about, when you include the surrounding areas, about 1.1, 1.2 million when we got the suburbs included.
Oh yeah,
and
there you go.
It's kind of like a little Chicago. It's a great, clean, low crime, easy to navigate. Yes. You can get it. We can say we can get anywhere in Grand Rapids in 30 minutes with traffic. Yep. So it's a great place to live and
family friendly, great school systems. Yeah. I can speak highly of Grand Rapids first and foremost, but let's dig a little bit deeper into it though. So let's talk about the current average home prices in Grand Rapids. What are we looking at right now?
Sitting around 300 would be the average. And
wow, I wasn't expecting that.
I know. Well, they ran up. They in the last couple of years, the prices have really shot up. Now we're talking. There's seasonality included with that. So if I'm giving you a 300, that's what we're kind of heading back into as we get into the spring market. But if we ran the numbers, let's say 30 to 60 days ago, Kev, because the market peaks out in August or September, believe it or not, and starts to come back down every year. Right. And so the lowest values of the year, any given year, would be around January. And so you kind of peak, you come down a little bit, and you go back up. So in an improving market, so anyway, we're heading into about 300,000 right now.
Gotcha.
And that's even if you're trying to get into a home for 250 or 260, likely you'll be in a multiple offer situation still. Got word on the street yesterday that 275, 250, 275 range is still experiencing multiple offers, waiving inspections, appraisal guarantees, all that stuff that we saw last year that we thought were a thing of the past. And I even went on the record somewhere and said, we'll never see that again. Well, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's low inventory still.
They're saying, according to National Association of Realtors, they're saying it used to be just about 4 offers per home now, and this is national average. Now they're saying about 2.5. So it's not too far, and I think that was year over year, if I'm not mistaken. But still, it's and then when it warming up into the springtime, I'm expecting that number to rise a little bit more also. So it is definitely going to get competitive. And just like you said, in markets like Grand Rapids, where you have great scenery, great location, great school systems, right off the water, great downtown, you're definitely going to be competitive. So
absolutely,
make sure you're paying attention.
Right.
Okay. You actually manage a team. Is this the Yoder team that you currently manage?
Yeah, Yoder Real Estate, but we operate like a team, and we're under the umbrella of eXp Realty. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but we were independent for a few years, Kev, and then in 2020, like right around the pandemic, I made a decision to latch onto and operate underneath the umbrella for eXp. We can talk about that if you want to, but
Yeah. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about your team under eXp. Let's talk about managing your team, the toughest and most rewarding parts of managing the team, and let's just talk about it all together.
Yeah, the rewarding part is when you can take somebody and when you've done the thing, you can transfer that information to the agent. So if you're in the game on the court and they need to learn how to sell real estate at a high level, if they want to do that, I don't work with agents that are part-time. It's just not my thing. I don't encourage the idea of part-time. I know that people do start off that way. And I would say that if someone wants to do that, I would say is if you really want to truly, well, you know what, everyone's different. I'm not going to go there. Just my philosophy is I believe the consumer, for the sake of the consumer having a world-class experience, you can get that only by doing something in a full-time capacity, not
I
just
agree.
dabbling in it, right? That's my point with that. So, but
Mhm.
it's being able to transfer the information that you've learned and are continuing to learn each and every day by being in the game, and knowing that that's having an impact on that agent's business, and watching their income soar and seeing them out there creating world-class experiences. So that's the most rewarding thing, Kev. Um,
Nice.
and I mean, the most challenging part is seeing agents come in, and when they first get in, they're super excited, and they're coming from I'll just walk you through the phases and give you an idea what that looks like. So they come in, they're hot out of the 40-hour class. They just passed their test,
Mhm.
and they don't know what they don't know. So they're in a state of unconscious incompetence. So they don't even
Correct.
know what they don't know, which means that I've had the conversation, "Hey, how hungry are you? How hungry are you?" "Oh man, I'm super hungry." "Well, what are you willing to do?" "Anything." Well,
Right,
the
right.
challenge with that statement is, and it's kind of a stupid question. I don't even think I ask that anymore, because what someone says they're willing to do, coming from an unconscious incompetent state, they don't even know what they're talking about. So
That's a fact.
right, so if I said, "Hey, by the way, what I'm willing to do is pick this thing up and make calls for 4 hours a day, or until such time that I've set an appointment," that's what I'm willing to do. They're like,
Right.
"Oh, well, I was willing to like do a TikTok video." So, you know what I mean?
Oh,
So there's a difference there. And once you, especially now, like this new market, we got to work
yeah.
4 or 5 times harder already. I can see that. And guess what? Some people aren't willing to do that, Kev. They're just not. So,
Mhm.
so being better from my perspective, identifying people that actually do get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it. And their attitude is, I will do anything that I need to do, so long as it's legal and ethical, right, and moral. To get
All
right.
right.
So there's that, but then they kind of go from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, which means they're like, now
I know what
they
you
might be
mean.
picking up the phone. They're like, "Ooh, this is hard. I got hung up on. I don't like the feeling of sucking at something." And then they're either going to stay with that and embrace the suck, or they're going to bounce. And it
It's
doesn't
gonna weed
take
them out.
long, like 90 days. No one wants to feel like they don't do something well. That's the deal. And
Mhm.
so the hardest part is seeing agents actually give up too soon. They quit too soon because the the mindset's not right. Um, they haven't built that confidence enough to say, "You know what? I don't suck." This is a self-image thing. We can get in that a little bit if you want to. That's what I really like to talk about. Is I
Come
have a
on.
coaching company for mindset. So this is what it is the self-image is that controlling mechanism that actually determines how we view things, how we show up in the world, and what we attract to us. So if I believe that I'm worthy of success and I'm not doing so great right now, my attitude is going to be, I don't suck. I just haven't developed the skills necessary to win yet.
There you go.
But put a paddle in my hand and ask me, can I dominate in pickleball? Not yet, not yet. But put me on that court 5, 6 days a week for 3 or 4 hours a day. Isn't it interesting how suddenly, if we're committed to something, we can actually get great at it? So it's that difference
Mhm.
between saying, I may not be doing well today, but I know that I can experience a breakthrough, and that creates the confidence. You got to be willing to embrace the suck to break through. Then you're in a place of of conscious competence, which means you're setting appointments. You're very aware and you're conscious of what you're doing at all times, and you're having success, and you're working at it, and you're successful. You're not resting on your laurels by any means, because you know you got to stay sharp, and you do
Right.
that
Yeah.
over and over again for 10,000 hours is mastery, which is when then you get to the place of
Woo. Come
unconscious,
on, man.
right? So how long you got to do that? That's a long freaking time. And so I
Yes,
kind of
sir.
joke with my agents. I'm like, hey, tell you what, uh, put your head down and work for 20 years, and then get back to me on your philosophy on all this stuff, right? It's an interesting conversation. So,
Right.
um, oh man, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's beautiful.
I love what I do, and I love helping people get through that next stage, and I've done it for a long time, and which is why I have a team. That's
Nice,
the
man.
whole point. Yeah.
Nice. Well said. Well said. So there's
Thank
a
you.
few things that you spoke on recently within that talk that I have to actually piggyback on. First and foremost, let's just start with your Yoder team being under the umbrella of EXP. Can you talk about what does your team benefit from being
Mm,
under the EXP umbrella?
absolutely. Well, let me just I'll be succinct. In 2020, I was an independent brokerage. I broke away from another. I was with KW for 14 years. Have a lot of great friends over there, and I
Mm,
really like learned real estate there. And I decided to go independent for various reasons. So got my broker's license and was independent from 17. But I kept on hearing about EXP. All my buddies all over the country were leaving their brokerages, going from independent model to EXP, leaving
mm,
all the brokerages. I could list them all to EXP, but it kept on tapping at me, saying like, what is this thing? Why? Maybe I should take a look at it. Everyone was encouraged me to do so. So I finally did, and I'm glad I did. And it didn't take long for me to determine that this is the best real estate opportunity that we've ever seen in real estate. Now, if anybody hasn't done a deep dive, then they're just operating from a place of ignorance. When you really dig into it from a business opportunity, this is the best one that we have available to us. Why did I
okay.
do that? Because I knew that the new decade of real estate is probably going to be extremely challenging. Not that we can't handle challenge, but I wanted to empower myself so that I can empower my agents with access to the best training,
There
the
you go.
best collaboration with the highest agents that are selling a lot more homes and doing a lot more business all over the world that I can collaborate and learn and mastermind with. Three, technology. Four, access to leads, access to training. I have a lot of that here at the local level, Kevin, but I don't have what they have. So I wanted to hitch my
Right, right.
wagon to a fast moving rocket ship. And EXP is the fastest growing real estate company in the history of real estate. That
Okay.
reason
I didn't know that.
alone isn't a reason why someone should join, but it would be cause for taking a look at it and asking, well, wait a minute. If 87, 88,000 agents have left their respective brokerages, might there be a reason that I haven't learned yet that I should take a look at? And I kind of gave you those five.
Mm,
There's a like a fifth component there, which is a revenue share model, which is non-existent in other brokerages, which actually allows agents to create. I can build a brokerage model
right.
outside of the team here, but like globally, that actually I earn revenue from EXP. We can get into that. There's a lot of details there, but essentially, I can earn passive income through the revenue channel that secures uh, passivity and the ultimate financial freedom. Because look, rich people make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wealthy people have a lot of time. And so there's
Mm.
no way around it. Like, look, if you want to be we get these emails, Kevin, from our local board of realtors every week. There's an agent that dies. They're old. They've been in it for a long time. They're 82,
Right.
83, 75. And sometimes I'm like, I just saw that dude last week and
Yeah.
he was putting a lockbox on a door. And so my point is like if you want to run that model and die with a lockbox in your right hand, then the traditional model is the place to be. If you say, wait a minute, like what's my exit strategy? Do I want to
Mm-hmm.
like do that for 40 years? Maybe. But what about just doing that for 30 years and building something that then lands you with a passive income that will replace your commission income so you can ride off in the sunset, which by
There
the
you
way,
go.
most people want to do that. They may not
Yeah.
admit it. They may not believe that they're worthy of that, but most people would, you know?
Yeah. No, no, I
So there are the
agree. I
benefits.
agree. Yeah, great. It sounds like it provides great resources, and that's essentially what I thought it would be. You know, they
Yeah.
would provide you with, the resources that helps you grow at an exponential rate. So great, man. That's good to hear. I
Yeah.
want to go back a little bit
Hmm.
since we were talking about it being a buyer's market and the offers still kind of remaining the same from what it was last year. When you're doing when you're with a client or whatever the case may be in the Grand Rapids area currently, how many homes are you finding yourself on average having to show a buyer before they actually make a choice or land on something?
So personally, I don't work with a lot of buyers, Kev. Some of my team works
Okay.
with buyers, but I talk with them every single day, and that varies from price range to price range. So in those lower ranges, you get underneath 300, they're in multiple offer situations. So they may show them three or
Mm,
four homes, but they're writing offers again consistently and they're losing out because there's still cash buyers out there. There's still removal of inspection contingencies. And
yeah.
so it's an interesting time to be in because we thought that this would be gone But what's keeping us in that place is the inventory is so extremely low. If you do an active listing search, and I'll pull it up on a map like this, and there'll be like a 30-mile radius, and I'll say active listings in a $100,000 price bracket, and there's one listing. So it's my way of sharing with the consumer that's thinking about selling a home is what's the best time to sell a property when there's no competition. So they're not so much like back in the day which I kind of laugh at when agents say I had to show a home to a buyer. I got to show them 10 homes. I'm like 10 homes, huh? Interesting.
Sheesh.
But back in 2003 and 4, when the market shifted in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we were showing buyers 50 or 60 homes. Whoa. Because think about it, you could drive down any street in USA and there were 15 homes for sale on the same street. So you're going boom, 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 boom. And then guess what? They're like, I love this last one. This is the best one. And then all of a sudden 3 or 4 more lists the next morning. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. Let's put an offer in. So that's what was going on for years. And so agents these days, they just haven't had the experience to contrast the one against the other. So for me, it's all easier now than it was then. As hard as it is, think about what was going on then. Plus the price ranges were like 50,000, Yeah,
that's true too. It's crazy when you brought that up because I remember when my mom was looking for a home in like 2005, 6. And I remember us I was in high school. I remember us just riding in the car and going to all of these houses. And I was so tired of looking at houses. But now that you put that in perspective, that's how the market was then.
That's right.
You had to look at a million houses. Oh my God.
Yeah, you're like a kid in a candy store and you're just like, and then because there would continually, this happened all the time where I'd have the purchase agreement out. And by the way, I'm going to make myself sound really old here. We used to have for all you young kids out there, and Kev, this might be you too, since you just kind of revealed your age to me, is we used to put a purchase agreement on paper. You know what that is? And they used to be, well, here, let me give you 2 words that I guarantee you've never touched before. You ready? If you've touched it, then I'm going to come over there and buy you lunch. Ready? It's called carbon copy. Do you know what that is?
I know what that is. The white, the yellow, and I know.
Yeah, there's layers, man. We had 5 copies, and I'd write an offer, and I would rip off the page 1, and there'd be another one underneath it. And I didn't press hard enough, so I got to put that back on there and write again. So,
what a time, man.
Those were the days. Those were the days. I had some guy, you said you were in high school, but I had a guy that I was talking to for joining the team, and he said, man, I remember when I was in high school and I was listening to your ads on the radio. I'm like, how young are you and how old am I? If you listened to me when you were in high school. Anyway, so.
Okay. So Kev, now I'm glad you just brought that up. I don't want to hold up too much more of your time, but I gotta pick your brain about this. Me working in radio, I have a 10+ year experience working in radio, right? So I know that radio advertisement is very pricey, especially depending on the market and your schedule and things of that nature. Right. So you gave a little bit of insight in regards to your, radio advertising, but I don't think you got into the ROI. So can you talk a little bit about your, what it took, or, you putting a lot of money and attention into radio advertisement and what you got out of it?
Yeah. So if you look at, when you talk to people that really know radio advertising, I had to learn. And how do you learn? Well, you just get in it. You just go for it. Initially, it was, I'm just going to go for it. And because I told you I was building up skill and I was building up revenue by virtue of making those calls, and then I had a real sustainable business model, I could afford to do that. I couldn't afford to just blow, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I knew that you had to give this thing a try. So if you're running in radio, I just do rough numbers here. Let's say you say, I'm going to start a radio campaign. Well, it's about, you got to get the message out there enough, right? So you have to have a lot of impressions. And so, you might be running $4,000 or $5,000 a month. And how long do you need to run the ad in order to test it out? 6 months, right? So so you got 30 grand laying around, start radio. There you go. Give it a shot, right? And if it doesn't work, you're done. That's about, so the return on investment, once you figure out a formula that works, and we'll talk about that in a second, is you really want to seek a 3 or 4 to 1 ROI. It's not really good enough to say 2-to-1, because that means that I'm giving you, say, $50,000, Kev, here you go. And then you get to hold my money. And at the end of the year, I might get back 100. Well, I can take that $50,000 and do a lot of damage as a small business owner, and it should be
Oh
making
yeah.
more money. It should be working harder for you,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
So that's that. So a 3 or 4-to-1 is really a good target. And some people might argue it should be higher than that. So that we really worked off of that premise. A couple years, it was a break even. Pandemic stuff was not good, obviously. But for the most part, we've operated off that, and it has worked. Now, that brings us to the next piece, though, is you got to have the right messenger. So we use on-air talent in the
There you
morning
go.
show.
Okay.
They have to be trusted
Yeah.
on-air talent. We do live reads so they can make mistakes and it sounds better. There's a powerful message. There's a call to action. There's a hook. And then there has to be the audience that you're reaching. What are the demographics there? And there's a whole study you have to do on that to see if it's, and then,
Correct.
there's a lot of things. And then finally, what's the last piece? It's this guy right here is, am I credible? When people do Google searches, how do I show up? And you got to have all of those in the place, because the DJ could be super duper great, but if the agent's doing a bad job out there in the marketplace, the consumer is not dumb. They will do the research and they will not call you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot there. There's a lot there. I would encourage most people don't do it unless you're sitting on piles of cash and you just want to burn through it and figure it out, right?
Woo, because I've
But
been there too, man. As a small business owner, I spend my money in radio, and I'm like, man, I don't have that. I don't have what I need to really get what I want, man, for real. But completely different story. Thank you for sharing that information for anybody that's interested in advertising and radio. Just a few more questions, if I can have you on for a few minutes now. I got to get this information out of you. One, tell us what sets you apart from your competitors.
Well, that's a great question. And I'm not speaking like, us as people, right? But I would say that in terms of the value proposition to the client is my commitment to something we call constant and never-ending improvement, because the market is constantly changing, and I am constantly looking at different ways to bring more value to the consumer. And I know that the consumer, when you're talking about a seller, they always want the same thing. I've been doing this for 20 years. No one has said that, and no one's told me otherwise. Right. Well, one kooky guy did, but he was a little bit off his rocker. But it was they want to sell their homes for the you know that guy? You probably know that guy. Most amount of money. They want the most money, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want the most amount of money? And they want to do it in the shortest amount of time. And finally, they want to do it with the least amount of hassle. So my focus has always been on those three pillars and how I can deliver that market condition out the window. It doesn't matter. And so how do we do that? We're constantly looking for ways to level up through constant and never-ending improvement, getting 1% better every single day. So at the end of the year, we're 365% better. And that means that I can bring more of myself to the equation. And I study. And not only that, as far as real estate goes, but I'm also, personal growth is of something I value. So I can bring more to the conversation. I can add what's called perspective, and people appreciate that. They appreciate perspective, and that comes in all sorts of forms. You know what I mean? So I would say that would be the biggest thing.
Okay. Solid, man. Solid. You brought up you have either a business or a brand where you do self-motivation or what was that? And please, I want to hear about that, please.
Okay,
more.
yeah, thanks for bringing it up. So I have a company called Yoder Results. It's my last name instead of Yoder Real Estate, Yoder Results. And you can see, I do YouTube videos for the real estate side. I also do the same thing for personal growth and development. So I'm a mindset coach, and I help entrepreneurs, real estate agents, but also because of the type of coaching I'm doing, Kevin, it applies to really everybody. And the prerequisites for who it works for is if somebody wants to get better at anything that they want to improve on. So I help entrepreneurs set the most audacious, exciting, exhilarating goals that they can ever possibly fathom. They never thought would be available to them in their entire lifetime. And then secondly, remove the barriers with self-limiting beliefs and increasing the self-image so that they are actually capable of going after those goals. Because at the end of the day, as I shared with you before, there's something that I pulled up on that. Can you see my phone?
Yep, I see
Yeah,
it.
that's a thermostat. So the best thing I can do is to share with you that's at a 70, right? We all have an inner thermostat. And so my job is to identify where your thermostat is set and help you get to the setting that it needs to be for you to get that goal. Because if I'm a 70 and I'm looking to do this out here, but I'm at a 70, we can only act in accordance with that setting. So I can't outrun it, I can't out hustle it, I can't perform it. If you see somebody, Kevin, that's actually like starting to do better, a little bit
Hmm.
better, and then they self-sabotage or they just trail right off, they stop doing the thing that they started to do, that's this saying, get your butt back here. You're a 70, and that's a self-image that's actually causing sabotage, because you can't out hustle it. So the inner work needs to get done. You have to identify where you are and then begin to shift that in such a way that you then believe that you truly are worthy of that. Because here's the deal: we will go after and get what we believe we're worthy of every single time. And that's the biggest
Yes,
challenge I see with
yes.
agents, real estate agents. They don't truly believe they're worthy of it, because if they did, they would do the things, they would do the activities that even if they didn't feel like it, right? If they feel like, because discipline, they would develop discipline, which is that ability to make yourself do something that you don't want to do in order to get
Yep.
the result that you want. That's
Hmm.
what they would do. If you made a committed decision, your self-image was in alignment, you'll say, okay, I don't have the knowledge right here. I'm operating from a place of ignorance. I can appreciate that. I don't know how to do
Right.
it. But guess what? I believe I'm worthy of that. So now I'm going to do the research. I'm going to find the best people. I'm going to find the best blueprint. I'm going to follow it loyally until such time that I've mastered it. That's what a strong ass self-image sounds like. And that's what I love the most about what I'm up to right now, is because it actually crosses over in a big way into real estate, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Man, talk that talk, Kev. I love it, man. See, listen,
Can you tell
what
I'm
I took
passionate
from
about
that,
that?
what I took from that is, and this is a quote that I borrowed from a previous episode. Your life is difficult for two reasons. One of two. You're either in your comfort zone or you're
Mm.
leaving it. Either way it go, decide which box you're in and make your decision. But
There you
yes,
go.
man,
I
you
love it.
spoke to it right there.
That's it. That's
Last
it.
question. I just want to leave you with this legacy question. If you
Mm.
were to retire today, what would you want to be known as for your legacy?
Hmm. It's an interesting question. My late mentor, Bob Proctor, who passed away 14 months ago, and if you're not familiar with Bob Proctor, just Google him, look him up on YouTube. He really was the world's foremost leader in personal growth and development. Someone asked him that question about 2 months before he died, and I listened for his answer like this. And he said, I really don't give much thought to that. He said, I'm here now and I'm present and I'm doing the best I can to deliver this information to people today. And I haven't really given much thought to that notion of legacy. Um, I would say that, but you brought up retiring, and so one piece on that is I don't ever see myself retiring.
There you go.
Traditionally speaking, sure. Like I'm not going to be active in real estate, forever. So I'll do it as long as I feel like it's appropriate for me at whatever I'm spiritually guided to do. That's how long I'm going to do it. And then, secondly, where I find myself truly drawn to is in the area of coaching and speaking and helping people with what I described to you just a few minutes ago, Kev. So, if I would say if there was anything there as far as legacy goes, knowing that I have left this world, which means people, places, and things, just a little bit better off than I found it. And that could be through
Mm,
those relationships. Maybe it's a word I said or a comment or an uplifting thing, or I've taught someone something that then allowed them, because you never know what difference you're going to make, right? You could say one thing that sets off a trail of events, which then that person ends up doing something, which does something else for someone else. And it could be a little
hmm.
thing, like you hold the door for the
Yep.
person at the store, and then they come in, they hold the door for the person after. And so that's the sort of thing that comes to mind, is
Yeah.
just leaving it better off than I found it. It being
There
the
you
world.
go.
Yeah.
There you go, man. Yes, that's well said, man. I like that you focus on the present.
Mm.
That's an answer I haven't received yet. A lot of people
Mm.
answer that, but your focus was really just on what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
I like that, man. I like that. Being in the present. Kevin,
Yeah.
I don't want to hold you up too much more. I appreciate you for coming by the closing table, dropping some gems, man, for our listeners. Before we get out of here, if you have any last words and or want to tell the people how they can reach out to you, please do so now.
Yeah, absolutely. So last words, I would just say that if you really understand what's driving all of this, it's deep down. It's the self-image that we hold of ourselves. And so if you really want to go after something and you really want to accomplish those goals that just have been elusive, like you just every year you wake up and you say, I'm going to go for that this year. Just recognize what it is. This is not a time to be judging yourself, but it's a time to be conscious of who you really are and who you need to be in order to accomplish those goals. And so two things come to mind is set bigger goals because what's going to have you jumping out of bed before your alarm clock goes off? Is it to like sell 3 more homes this year? Not going to do it. You're not going to do it. It's not going to cause that that thing, right? So if you set a goal that's way up here, you're going to go, okay, I'm here, that's there. In order for me to get that, I need to grow. I can't be the same person when I get there, right? And so that causes a different level of motivation and inspiration for you to get after it every day, and then do the work. Get a coach. There's no way around this. There's not one person on the planet that's done the thing without getting someone that's a mentor or a coach that can guide them through the path of self-improvement. And then, then you can sell as many homes as you want to. Like you can sell 100, 200, whatever the thing is that meets your needs. And the last piece on that is if we recognize that we are, and this is the part that people get tripped up on, we're God's highest form of creation. So don't we think that, you just think about it. Are you worth it? Absolutely. Like, yes. And there's not a bad product out here. So we have to just understand that and begin to believe in ourselves more, and we can have anything we want. So if you want to connect with me, oh gosh, there's a myriad of ways, but you can find me online. You can look up the Kevin Yoder on YouTube. That's where you're going to find the mindset stuff. The Kevin Yoder. You can type in Yoder results and you can find my channel there. If you want to get on the real estate side and watch some of our YouTube videos there, just look for the Yoder Real Estate channel. You can go to yoderrealestate.com for our website. And there you have it, man. You reach out to me. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, I'm happy to help you. I'm here to help anybody that's I said yesterday to 2 people, I said, if you're asking, I'm telling. So it means if you're seeking, if you're the guy that's like climbing to the top of the mountain and then there's an old man sitting up there, I just called myself super old. But if that's you, then I will answer the question and I will get behind you and help support you and help you get to your goals. That's what I love to do.
There it is, man. Wise words from a wise man. I want to thank our guest, Kevin, a.k.a. Mr. His name is my name, too, for joining us on the closing table today. Hey, man, before we get out of here, for our YouTube audience watching right now, you got to do us both Kevins a favor. Please hit the like button. Yes, there's also a rectangle. I need you to hit the square, the share button, and also subscribe to our channel. And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, 5-star rating, and also subscribe for our latest content. And we like to leave our audience with a question, Kevin. Before we get out of here, here's what I want you to answer our audience. What city do you feel has a decent and or affordable cost of living? We want to hear it. Drop them comments below. Other than that, we will see you next time.